Very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you, and here are this morning's headlines. Budget softens demonetization impact with the tax rates cut. Allocation for infrastructure, rural, agriculture and social sectors is stepped up. Prime Minister calls budget pro-poor. Opposition says it lacks vision. Last day of campaigning for elections in Goa and Punjab. Two states go to polls on 4th of February. Rex Tillerson is the new U.S. Secretary of State. Former chairman of ExxonMobil gets the approval of the U.S. Senate. Britain's Parliament approves the first stage of Brexit bill. Move will enable Theresa May to formally begin 2 years of exit talks. And India beat England by 75 runs to bag the three-match T20 series 2-1. Leg spinner Yuzvendra Chahal adjudged the man of the match and series. The Finance Minister presented Budget 2017-18 in the Lok Sabha on Wednesday. He announced a tax bonanza by reducing the income tax for income between 2.5 and 5 lakh rupees from 10% to 5%. However, to offset losses in revenue due to this tax cut, a proposal to levy 10% new surcharge for income from 50 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees has also been made.
The Finance Minister addressing post-demonetization expectations for a reduction in tax burden.
I propose to reduce the existing rate of taxation for individual assessees between the income 2.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs to 5% instead of the present rate of 10%. This would reduce the tax liability of all persons below rupees 5 lakhs income either to zero with a rebate or 50% of their existing liability.
Jaitley also proposing not to impose any tax on income up to rupees 3 lakh.
In order not to have any duplication of benefit, the existing benefit of rebate available to the same group of beneficiaries being reduced to 2,500 available only if to the assessees with income up to 3.5 lakhs. The combined effect of both these measures will mean that there would be a zero tax liability for a person getting income up to 3 lakh rupees and a tax liability of only 2,500 for people with an income of 3 to 3.5 lakhs.
However, to offset the revenue loss following relief to taxpayers, Jaitley also proposed a new surcharge of 10% on incomes between 50 lakh and 1 crore rupees.
I propose to levy a surcharge of 10% of tax payable on this category of individual whose annual taxable income is between 50 lakhs and 1 crore. The existing surcharge of 15% on people earning more than 1 crore will continue. This is likely to give me an additional revenue of rupees 2,700 crores.
While the surcharge alone would net 2,700 crores a year, the reduction of the tax burden will result in a loss of 15,500 crore rupees. Jaitley also made a proposal to expand the tax net.
In order to expand the tax net, I plan to have a simple one-page form to be filed as an income tax return in the category of income individuals having a taxable income up to rupees 5 lakh other than business income. Also, a person of this category who files an income tax return for the first time would not be subject to any scrutiny for the first year unless there is some specific information available with the department with regard to any high-value transaction.
The Finance Minister said that his proposals on excise and customs duties will not result in any significant loss or gain to the exchequer. However, there are a host of items that will either become cheaper or dearer. LED bulbs, solar panels, wind-operated energy generators are among the items that will be cheaper. Cigarettes, tobacco, pan masala and silver coins are among items that will become costlier. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And from constructing 1 crore houses for the homeless by 2019 to announcing the completion of 100% electrification of villages by May 2018, the Finance Minister unveiled many measures for the rural and infrastructure sector. Now, among these announcements, a new metro rail policy, select airports in Tier 2 cities to be taken up for operations on PPP mode, new railway lines and differently abled friendly stations as well.
Presenting his union budget on Wednesday, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley articulated the government's focus on spending more on rural areas and building infrastructure.
It has been our mission to bring a transformative shift in the way our country is governed. We have moved, madam, from a discretionary-based administration to a policy and system-based administration. From favoritism to transparency and objectivity in decision-making. From blanket and loose entitlements to targeted delivery, and from an informal to a formal economy.
The Finance Minister also increased funds allocated for scheduled caste by a third to 52,000 crore rupees. He also mentioned that many new enterprises were set up under the Stand Up India program aimed at helping women, Dalit and tribal entrepreneurs.
Government is giving special importance to the implementation of schemes for the welfare of scheduled castes, scheduled tribe and minorities. The allocation of the scheduled caste has been stepped up from rupees 38,833 crores in the budget estimate of 2016-17 to 52,393. इससे मैडम 35% इंक्रीज एससी एलोकेशन का इस बजट में है. We are well on our way of achieving 100% village electrification by 1st May 2018. An increased allocation of rupees 4,814 crore has been proposed under the Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gram Jyoti Yojana for 2017 and 18.
Focusing on housing in rural and urban sector, Jaitley said the government proposed to construct 1 crore houses for the homeless by 2019. In this context, he said the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana allocation has been raised to 23,000 crore rupees from 15,000 crore rupees.
Clear focus on improving accountability and outcomes and convergence, we will undertake a mission Antyodaya to bring 1 crore households out of poverty and make 50,000 Gram Panchayats poverty-free by 2019.
Most of the budget measures were also being seen in line with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's plan to provide 20 million houses across India by 2020. Experts say difficulties in claiming incentives for affordable housing have been removed by these measures. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And furthering the Election Commission's bid to stem the flow of black money during elections, now Finance Minister announced a slew of steps to bring in transparency in political funding. Now, Jaitley said that this was a measure to evolve a transparent method for funding political parties, which is vital to the system of free and fair elections.
India may be the world's largest democracy with one of the most elaborate electoral systems, but it has still not been able to evolve a transparent method of funding political parties. In his budget speech, the Finance Minister said transparency was vital for the conduct of free and fair elections and that the government was committed to achieving this.
Political parties continue to receive most of their funds through anonymous donations, which are shown in cash. An effort therefore requires to be made to cleanse the system of political funding in India.
Among the many measures announced, the Finance Minister put a cap on the maximum amount of cash donations that a political party can receive.
In accordance with the suggestion made by the Election Commission, the maximum amount of cash donation that a political party can receive will be 2,000 from any one source. Political parties will be entitled to receive, political parties will be entitled to receive donations by check or in the digital mode from their donors. C, An additional step, as an additional step, an amendment is being proposed to the Reserve Bank of India Act to enable the issuance of electoral bonds in accordance with a scheme that the Government of India would frame in this regard.
Every political party would also have to file its return within the time prescribed in accordance with the provision of the Income Tax Act. Any existing exemption to political parties from payment of income tax will be available subject to the fulfillment of these conditions. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it may have been part of the general budget this time, but Finance Minister Arun Jaitley did ensure that railways got its share. Now, a slew of measures were announced with a focus on enhancing safety and improving infrastructure.
For the first time since independence, there was no separate budget for the railways. With the Finance Minister presenting the first combined budget of independent India, the focus was on synergizing investments in railways, roads, waterways and civil aviation. The focus in railways will be on 4 major areas: passenger safety, capital and development works, cleanliness and finance and accounting reforms.
For passenger safety, a rail Sanraksha Kosh will be created, a safety fund, with a corpus of rupees 1 lakh crores over a period of 5 years. Besides seed capital from the government, the railways will arrange the balance from its own resource avenues and other sources. The government will lay down clear-cut guidelines for timeline for implementation of various safety works to be funded from this course. Unmanned level crossings on broad gauge lines will be eliminated by 2020. Expert international assistance will be harnessed to improve safety preparedness and maintenance practices.
The output of the Indian Railways has been proposed to be enhanced by 10% in the next 3 years. This will be done through modernization and upgradation of identified corridors. For passengers, service charge on rail tickets booked through IRCTC is to be withdrawn, while 500 stations will be made differently abled friendly by providing lifts and escalators.
It is proposed to feed around 7,000 stations with solar power in the medium term. A beginning has already been made in 300 stations. Work will be taken up for 2,000 railway stations as a part of the 1,000 megawatt solar mission. Our focus is on Swachh Railways. SMS-based Clean My Coach service has been started. It is now proposed to introduce a Coach Mitra facility, a single FINDO interface to register all coach-related complaints and requirements. By 2019, all coaches of Indian Railways will be fitted with biotoilets.
The Finance Minister also announced the creation of new employment opportunities in the railways with the announcement of a new metro rail policy. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the Union budget as saying that it covered all the sectors of the economy and will facilitate the changes that the country was going through. Well, the Prime Minister said that the budget was devoted to the well-being of the villagers, farmers and the poor. He also said that the budget reflected commitment to eliminate corruption and black money. The Prime Minister also appreciated the housing and the small business sectors would gain immensely from the current budget.
रेलवे के मॉडर्नाइजेशन से लेकर के सरल इकोनॉमिक निर्माण करने की दिशा में, शिक्षा से लेकर के स्वास्थ्य तक, उद्यमी से लेकर के उद्योग तक, टेक्सटाइल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से लेकर के टैक्स रिडक्शन तक, हर किसी के सपने को साकार करने का ठोस कदम इस बजट में साफ साफ नजर आता है। इस ऐतिहासिक बजट के लिए वित्त मंत्री के साथ साथ उनकी पूरी टीम भी अभिनंदन के अधिकारी है। ये बजट देश के विकास के लिए पिछले 2.5 वर्ष में जो कदम उठाए गए, जो फैसले लिए गए और भविष्य में और मजबूती के साथ आगे बढ़ने के इरादों के बीच ये एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण कड़ी है। इस बजट को मैं देख रहा हूं। एक अन्य महत्वपूर्ण कदम है कि रेलवे बजट को जनरल बजट में मर्ज कर दिया गया है। इससे पूरे ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर उसको इंटीग्रेटेड प्लानिंग में मदद मिलेगी। देश में परिवहन से जुड़ी आवश्यकताओं की पूर्ति में रेलवे अब अपना योगदान और बेहतरीन तरीके से कर पाएगी। ये बजट कृषि क्षेत्र, ग्रामीण क्षेत्र, सामाजिक कल्याण, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, इन सभी क्षेत्रों में एक विशेष ध्यान आकर्षित करता है। निवेश बढ़ाने और रोजगार के नए अवसर पैदा करने की दृष्टि से सरकार की जो प्रतिबद्धता है वो इस बजट में साफ साफ नजर आती है। इन योजनाओं के लिए आवंटन में भी बहुत बढ़ोतरी की गई है।
And the various opposition parties have criticized the general budget presented by the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Wednesday. Well, let's listen in to some reactions from the opposition parties.
सरकार ने गरीबों को मारा। एक्सपेक्टेशन थी कि किसानों के लिए, गरीब लोगों के लिए, युवाओं के लिए, बेरोजगार लोगों के लिए कुछ किया जाए, मगर कोई क्लियर विजन नहीं दिख रहा है। जेटली जी ने अच्छा भाषण दिया, मगर बेसिस कुछ नहीं है उसके।
डिमोनेटाइजेशन के बाद बड़े पैमाने पर बेरोजगारी बढ़ी है और जो पहले से रोजगार में थे छोटे मोटे वो भी बेरोजगार हो गए हैं। तो उनको फिर से कैसे खड़ा किया जाए, रोजगार का, नए रोजगार का सृजन कैसे किया जाए, या पुराने रोजगार जो खत्म हुए हैं उनको फिर से कैसे खड़ा किया, इसके लिए कोई योजना नहीं लगती है।
ये तो चुनावी जुमले इसमें भी हो सकते हैं और लगातार हर साल बजट पेश करने की आवश्यकता क्यों पड़ती है आपको? पिछले साल जो कुछ हुआ, कितने कामयाब हो गए आप उसमें? और क्या पिछले बजट में आपने किया था ऐलान कि हम डिमोनेटाइजेशन करेंगे? जिक्र किया था कभी? तो ऐसे बहुत सारी बातें होते हैं कि बजट तो बजट होता है, बीच में आपकी मनचाही बात आप कर सकते हो, कह सकते हो।
Demonetization has failed, came out in the budget clearly. What is interesting to me and all of us is that micro and small enterprises have no space in the budget. Unorganized sector which employs over 80% of the people in India and 40% of GDP had no place in the budget. Farmers had no place in the budget of in any significant manner. And most interestingly, even corporate India was a special tax was put on the corporate India above a certain level which didn't exist before. Railways have lost its way. It's gone off track.
This is the major financial intervention after demonetization. People at large took the brunt of the impact of demonetization, and I was expecting something spectacular for the common man in the union budget. However, the union budget 2017-18 is a mixed bag and falls short of expectations on many counts.
बजट भाषण में कुछ ऐसी बात वो कहेंगे जिससे देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को भी पूरी गति मिलेगी और बिहार जैसे जो पिछड़े राज्य हैं उनके विकास में ऐसी बातों को सहायक। लेकिन पूरा बजट भाषण सुनने के बाद निराशा हाथ लगी। 2 घंटा तक लगातार सुनते रहे और उम्मीद करते रहे कि कुछ बात अब आगे आएगी, लेकिन कुछ खास बात आई है।
जितना खर्चा पिछले बजट में किया था सरकार की तरफ से, उससे कम खर्चा इस बार हो रहा है आपके जीडीपी के मुकाबले में। जितना जो राहत, जितना उनके ऊपर आर्थिक बोझ पिछले 1 साल के अंदर महंगाई की वजह से पड़ी, उसको भी पूरा नहीं करता ये जो रिलीफ जो दिया है। लेकिन उससे जो है सरकार को घाटा हो रहा है 20,000 करोड़ रुपए का।
Economy is in bad shape.
economy is in deep crisis. Unemployment has become a big challenge in our economy. But unfortunately, the budget has not addressed any issue, has not given any hope that the economy would be retrieved from the deepening crisis.
That was our special segment on Union Budget 2017-18 and we'll take a very short break here. We'll be back with more news.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back. Well, it is the last day of campaigning for the assembly elections in Punjab and Goa today. While polling for the two states is slated for 4th of February and the voting will take place for 70 seats in the Punjab Assembly for which 1,145 candidates are in the fray. Now, Punjab will witness a multi-cornered contest on all the assembly seats. While the Congress is going alone on 117 seats, the ruling Shiromani Akali Dal and its ally BJP will contest on 94 and 23 seats respectively. Now, a new entrant to the Punjab Assembly elections, the Aam Aadmi Party has fielded candidates on 110 seats and its ally Lok Insaf Party on 7. Meanwhile, in Goa, voting will take place for 40 seats, for which 251 candidates, including 19 women, are in the fray. Goa Assembly polls are likely to be a three-pronged fight with the ruling BJP, the opposition Congress, as well as the new entrant are pitted against each other. While Manohar Parrikar-led BJP had won in the 2012 elections in alliance with the Maharashtra-Wadi Gomantak Party, well, this time it has been abandoned by its political friends who have now ganged up against it. Now, the Congress has fielded 37 candidates and is supporting Goa forward in a few constituencies. The BJP is contesting on 36 seats and has also extended its support to independents in 4 constituencies. Now, Aam Aadmi Party is contesting on 39 seats. Shiv Sena is contesting the election in alliance with the rebel RSS leader Subhash Velinkar-led Goa Suraksha Manch and the Maharashtra-Wadi Gomantak Party. News from Uttar Pradesh now, and nominations for the 5th phase of elections in the state will begin today with the issue of notification. While polling for 52 seats spread over 11 districts, including Rahul Gandhi's parliamentary constituency Amethi, will take place on 27th of February. Well, the districts going to polls in this phase are Balrampur, Gonda, Faizabad, Ambedkar Nagar, Bahraich, Siddharth Nagar, Basti, Sant Kabir Nagar, Amethi and Sultanpur. And the last date of filing of nominations is 9th of February. Samajwadi Party had won 37 seats out of 52 in the 2012 assembly polls, while the BJP and the Congress won 5 seats each. Now, the BSP had won 3, while the Peace Party won 2 seats in this particular phase. News from poll-bound Uttarakhand now, and ahead of the assembly polls in the state. Now, the Bharatiya Janata Party expelled 17 members from the party for 6 years for contesting elections against their own party candidates. While BJP on Wednesday debarred members from the party, including Gangotri Surat, Ram Nautiyal, Kedarnath Asha, Ram Nautiyal, as well as Kashipur Rajiv Agarwal. Well, the elections in the state are going to be held in a single phase on 15th of February and the results will be announced on 11th of March. On to some other news now. In the mortal remains of former Union Minister E. Ahmed, who passed away early on Wednesday, will be buried at his native Kannur in Kerala today. Well, President Pranab Mukherjee, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari paid homage to the leader. The 78-year-old sitting MP from Kerala's Malappuram constituency collapsed during the President's joint address at the start of the budget session. He was then rushed to the Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital, where he passed away at 2:15 a.m. on Wednesday. Now, Congress President Sonia Gandhi, Party Vice President Rahul Gandhi, Leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Nabi Azad, also rushed to the hospital late at night and they met Ahmed's family. Lok Sabha will not sit as a mark of respect for the departed leader.
He was not just a politician, but he was a able administrator. More than that, he was a committed social worker. He's done a lot of things for the downtrodden. On this sad day, I can pray to the Allah, God, for his maghfirat, and may Allah give him place in the Jannah.
He was one person who used to take up the issues of Indian migrant laborers living in Gulf countries on time, and he tried to help them. He was a well-known face in Gulf countries, and really it is a loss not only for Kerala but for the entire country.
News from Odisha now, where at least 7 police personnel were killed and 6 others injured on Wednesday in a landmine blast suspected to have been detonated by Maoists in Odisha's Koraput district. Now, 4 bodies were recovered from the site, while 3 others died in the hospital later. The explosion took place in Maoist-affected Koraput district. Now, the landmine went off when 13 security personnel were on their way to Cuttack for training. Well, they belong to the 3rd Battalion of the Odisha State Armed Police and the District Police. Well, the blast is suspected to have been triggered by the Red Rebels operating in Andhra-Odisha border areas. Now, Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik termed the incident a cowardly act. On to our top international focus now. In the process of Britain leaving the European Union cleared a significant hurdle. On Wednesday, members of the UK Parliament voted in favour of allowing the government to begin the divorce talks. Well, members of the House of Commons voted by 498 to 114 to advance the bill that would give Prime Minister Theresa May the authority to invoke Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty, the formal process of leaving the EU. Well, the bill now faces a further scrutiny in the Commons and the House of Lords before it can become a law. Remember, the bill was published last week after the Supreme Court decided MPs must have a say before Article 50 can be triggered. Well, it also rejected the government's argument that May had sufficient powers to trigger Brexit without consulting Parliament. Now, talks with the EU are expected to last up to 2 years, with the UK predicted to leave the 28-member organisation in 2019. News from the United States now, and Rex Tillerson has been sworn in as the U.S. President Donald Trump's Secretary of State. Vice President Mike Pence gave the oath of office to Tillerson. Well, this after the 64-year-old former chairman and chief executive of ExxonMobil, Tillerson, was cleared for full Senate approval in a 56-43 vote. Well, the vote was largely on party lines, with all the 52 Republicans voting in favor, along with 3 Democrats and 1 independent. But Tillerson, who has never held political office, faced intense scrutiny over his ties to Russia. As Secretary of State, Tillerson will handle relations with countries including China and Russia and negotiate matters such as climate change and human rights on behalf of President Trump.
Right now, when we are trying to hold Russia accountable for its illegal aggression in Eastern Europe, for its war crimes in Aleppo, and its interference in our own nation's election, how on earth can we trust someone with such a cozy relationship with the Putin government to be our Secretary of State?
Russia today poses a danger, but it is not unpredictable in advancing its own interest. It has invaded the Ukraine, including the taking of Crimea, and supported Syrian forces that brutally violates the laws of war. Our NATO allies are right to be alarmed at a resurgent Russia.
And finally, some cricket news where India beat England by 75 runs at Bangalore and clinched the series 2-1 on Wednesday in the 30-20 cricket match. Well, in the match, the visiting side has chased a big total of 203 and cleaned up for just 127 runs in 16.3 overs with steadied innings in the middle overs. Now, English batsmen collapsed dramatically from 119 for 2 to 127 all out. Well, Indian leg spinner Yuzvendra Chahal was adjudged the man of the match. He was the main architect for destructions as he took 6 wickets for just 25 runs. In the process, he also became the first Indian in the T20 to take 5 wickets or more. And Jasprit Bumrah took 3 wickets while the remaining 1 wicket went to Amit Mishra's kitty. Earlier being asked to bat first, Suresh Raina's 63 and MS Dhoni's 56 pushed India's score to 202 for 6 in stipulated 20 overs. Chahal was adjudged the man of the match as well as the man of the series.
Wonderful timing as well.
Well, that's it from me and my team in this edition of news. Thanks for watching.